Greetings from Malone University. You've had a busy day. I hope that you've had a sense and feeling of welcoming on our campus. I hope that people's kind words and smiling faces have given you a warm feeling and have invited you to join us. Your voice matters in our community. You're signing up for an education that seeks God's best for you personally, spiritually, and in your career. And we do this by developing one-on-one relationships with our students. Our staff and faculty do that together. In the end of the day, we want to help you figure out who you're meant to be in all of the roles in your life. We hope that the education that you get here prepares you for a life of service to others, as a family member, as a community member, and in your profession. Today, we're doing a question and answer session with two very important people here at Malone, our Chief Academic Officer, our Provost, Greg Miller, and Mel Scott, our Chief Student Development Officer here on campus. So I'm going to open it up to questions for anyone who has them in just a moment. I'm going to start with a couple of my own just to get the ball rolling. So I'll start with Greg. What has been the response to your announcement of your fall instructional plan? Has it been positive?
Absolutely. In fact, we're getting quite a bit of good press about this. From the beginning of the pandemic, we began thinking about what we might have to do for the fall, and put a lot of good Malone minds working on it. And we were able to develop a very flexible instructional plan that's going to be able to accommodate every kind of student, no matter what their family circumstances might be in relationship to COVID-19 and this fall semester. And as I began rolling it out, it was very gratifying to see more and more colleges and universities begin to kind of do the same things that we had already announced that we were going to do. I will tell you that this is a shout out to our IT folks, that we simply would not have been able to do this flexible instructional plan without having an all-star IT team and a great deal of experience already in various kinds of web mediated instruction. So I will tell you, Jason, I've done a couple of radio interviews. We've been in the papers and fielded already lots of questions from current and incoming students and their families. And people have been very grateful for our flexible approach that enables them to get a high quality education despite the context of COVID-19.
Thank you. So Mel, what about spiritual formation opportunities? Will you still have them? Is that still part of the plan in our face-to-face plan here moving into the fall?
That's a great question. Yes, we will still have not only spiritual formation opportunities, but student activities in general. I think what people can anticipate to see are more small and medium-sized gatherings pending size limitation requirements, social distancing requirements, and time limitations. But we anticipate offering small group options, some virtual options, and things of this nature for the spiritual formation programming. And certainly staff are available and ready to provide any sort of pastoral counseling or guidance, any sort of care, listening ear that people may need during a difficult time. So yes, for sure.
Absolutely, thank you. Do either of you know the name of the possum in the Malone University Zoo?
Oh, you've got me there, Jason. I do not.
Yeah.
I think it's Milo, but I thought I'd keep you on your toes here today a little bit.
That's a good one.
That's not a question for which I was prepared.
Okay. Got it.
Although the heart of Malone education is face-to-face instruction in small group settings, I have not had the pleasure to have face-to-face instruction in small group setting with Milo the possum.
He will allow you to pet him. under the care and guidance of our Zeus staff, which are typically students. But okay, Greg, here's a more serious question. Will masks be necessary in the classroom?
And the answer is that we don't want to simply be compliant with the directives from the CDC, the state of Ohio, and our local health department. We want to be more than compliant. We want to be leaders in providing a safe and healthy environment. And this really flows out of our intentional Christian mission to take care of one another and to be concerned with one another. So the answer, Jason, is yes. We will be utilizing masks in our classroom settings. Now, when a student participates, our webcam technology uses facial recognition software, so our in-person students will be able to interact with those who are remote in the same class. That will require that student during that time of participation in the class, just like when you're eating or drinking, to remove your mask. When the instructor is giving instruction, as that is important for pedagogical, for teaching purposes, the instructor may remove their mask while they're giving instruction with appropriate social distance in all classrooms. That's a critical point. But our standard mode will be to use face coverings. That's our normal mode of operation for all interior spaces at Malone.
Thank you. And as we welcome more people here, as they come into this space during this conversation, I'd encourage anyone to speak up and ask a question if they'd like. And you can always just write it in the chat feature, because I'll see it there as well. But that's great. Could we talk about orientation a little, Mel? How is the COVID situation changing our orientation plan?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks for asking that. So some of our orientation, maybe I should begin with the date, is August 19th, which is a Wednesday. You'll see that we have a phased opening on campus throughout August, and we're implementing a structured phase of return throughout August to accommodate not only based on necessity and risk, but to try to accommodate those who might be coming out of state or internationally as well. So you're going to see a structured phase of reopening, early arrivals, incoming first-year students, and then our returning students, and those will be staggered over certain time periods. For example, for orientation, that morning of arrival will be staggered by last names of students. And this next week, parents and families will receive, and students will receive, a letter that gives specific instruction for arrival. That should be coming in the mail shortly, as well as posted on our website. So that'll look like staggered arrival times, and families will be permitted to help students move in to their residence hall. And then we'll launch into our normal Gen 100 classroom activities, where we still give the same opportunities to make friends, to feel like I'm connected to someone, somebody knows my name, somebody can give me a tour of where my classes are. All of those things will remain the same, but some of our activities will be COVID friendly. So reduced space between one of the 6-foot space, but reduced touching, and initiatives where maybe we're doing trust falls and things that we might have gotten in more close proximity. We're replacing those with more COVID friendly activities. For example, we do a giant game of musical chairs that's tradition on Saturday night for a very high prize gift card to free pizza that will last you for the year. But this year we're doing musical squares instead of musical chairs. So there's no touching of things and people can still engage in having a good time. So you're going to see the same sorts of activities, just maybe in a COVID friendly way. But okay, it's going to be a good time.
Sorry for interrupting you. Yes, and that's wonderful information. If I can stick with you, Mel, real quick. So I know part of our audience here are students who weren't able to come to Countdown, and they might receive this conversation video. So I'm thinking, if they couldn't go through Countdown and the things they did during today, like get an ID, etc., are they going to be able to do that, and how will they do that, when, and this kind of thing?
Yes. So some of the things, if you're planning to be on campus, There'll be the same opportunities as Countdown to get your class schedule, to get your student ID. All of those things are planned throughout the 4 days together. If you're fully remote, we're actually going to have a remote session. There'll be an informational pre-recorded meeting that you'll get all the information that you would have gotten if you were here and present. And then we'll probably also be doing a Zoom call like this where we take questions and answers in case we didn't address something in the info video that you needed to know. So we have a plan for our remote students as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Could I turn now to Greg and Rich? You had praised Adam and his team, the IT staff on our campus, for their nimble response in this situation and creating an adaptable plan where students can, based on their circumstances, have unique educational pathways there. What about faculty? How have faculty responded to this? And what is it going to be like working with the faculty in a context of this environment?
Well, of course, I could wax eloquently for a long period of time about our wonderful faculty. And Jason, as you know, this is an incredibly talented and highly qualified team of academic specialists, all specialists in their area. We have a extraordinarily high percentage of our faculty that have PhDs from top-notch universities doing really interesting research. But they chose to be here at Malone because of the mission of this institution and their care for our students, their commitment to a mission, common faith that we share, and our care for our students. And that was evidenced this spring when we made this very rapid pivot to fully remote. We're so excited to be able to welcome students back into our classes this fall. But this spring, we had to make a very rapid shift to fully remote. And our faculty didn't just succeed, they triumphed in this through an incredible amount of effort in making personal contact with their students, regular personal contact, checking on them with phone, email, text, video conference. And we did a special course evaluation at the end of the semester to see how our faculty had done. And we told we had a very high rate of student response to this. Actually, in the write-in section, more than 6,000 individual responses by students to our questions about how our faculty had done in delivering quality education despite the remote, and almost all comments just glowing. It makes a difference when you are called to love your students. It shapes the kind of education that you present. So our faculty, they are preparing this summer in a way that they have never prepared before over the course of a summer for a COVID-19 adapted fall semester. I have heard at different institutions, faculty hesitation, unwillingness, even in some cases, lawsuits about being forced to go back to teaching in person. That's not the case with our faculty. They are eager to return to their task, their calling, as they understand it, to serve our students. So our faculty, Jason, have been absolutely wonderful, skilled educators, caring Christians, and they've made this a success.
And I appreciate that. As a faculty member, I appreciate that, Greg. And I just want to echo that by saying we're called to love our students no matter where they are in their faith journey or where they come from. And I love to hear those stories that you told. Francesca, do I see you on this call? Maybe she's not on the call. I apologize. That's my
off, but I can give it a go if you've got a question.
Thank you, Mel. Talk about food service for us. I thought I'd go directly to the source, but of course you have expertise in this area as well.
Yeah, no, I just saw her pop off, so I think she might have stepped off for just a second. But yeah, lots of questions about what is the dining commons going to look like. So we have our Bream Centennial Center main dining commons, and then we have two other cafes, Regula and Emma's. The main commons is where most people take, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's going to look slightly different this year. It will be open, and it'll probably be similar to maybe what you've experienced in restaurants. There'll be distanced tables, so not as many people eating at the same time. Normally, we have a lot of self-serve stations. There's a lot of different food options, kind of like a food court. And those will all be open, but they will be being served by employees, so students won't be able to self-serve at those stations just for sanitary purposes. And then obviously a rigorous cleaning and disinfecting plan in the cafeteria. There's also one important thing you might want to know too, is there's not going to be cash handling. Most students have meal plans, but for instance, if you're a commuter and you just want to take a meal, maybe a lunch to meet up with somebody, normally you'd be able to pay with cash. Now you'll only be able to pay with debit or credit card until this season is over. So that's probably important to know. You'll also always have carry-out options as well. So if you don't want to sit in a space with, a high volume of people, then any meal you can always carry out as well. So those are some of the big highlights of what will be happening in the CAF, as people call it.
Thank you, Mel. All right, Greg, turning to you again. Athletics, please. Are we having competitions? What do athletics look like in a context of COVID-19 at Malone University?
We're an NCAA Division II school, and we are in the GMAC conference of NCAA Division II, and so we will be following all of the conference directives. So the presidents and the athletic directors of all of the GMAC have been meeting together on a weekly basis in order to determine what athletics looks like here in the fall. At this point, we are a go for our athletics in the fall, although, as everyone knows, it's a fluid and rapidly changing situation. There have been some adjustments in a reduction in the overall number of contests. However, at this point, as I've said, we are a go, and our first day for official practices for our fall athletes will be August 17th. So we're preparing fields, and coaches are in contact with their athletes, getting ready to go for our fall sports. We are making adjustments. So, for instance, in high traffic areas, people will be wearing face coverings. Whenever a coach needs to be within 6 feet of an athlete, that coach will be wearing a face covering, whether it's indoors or outdoors. We're asking for all of our athletes will be screened. For instance, before they go into the training room, they'll have to do a health screening to make sure that they don't have a fever or any symptoms. But we're excited to be able to welcome our athletes and athletic competition. It was a difficult spring to have our spring sports canceled, and I am very pleased that the NCAA is permitting those student athletes who had their spring sports canceled to have an additional year of athletic eligibility. So we'll be able to, some of those students will be staying maybe a little bit longer than they had originally planned at Malone, but they're excited about the opportunity to complete all of their athletic eligibility. And that's what we have at this particular point. So some modifications in the ways that we're doing athletics, but our plan is still for a go for competition this fall.
Thank you. And this might be for either of you and both of you, but I heard some great choir work in the spring of this past year, and they called it a distance sing, which I loved. They had some great performances. I'm wondering about choir and marching band, thinking about other activities on campus, co-curriculars, and if they'll be still available for students in the fall.
I can, Mel, you might want to speak to some other of the co-curriculars. I'll speak to chorale and band. And the answer is yes. We will be having chorale and we will be having band. However, again, adapted for a COVID-19 context. So for instance, We will not be having large-scale indoor rehearsals with a full, 60 members of chorale, but outdoors, as I have been telling people, the hills will be alive with the sound of music here at Malone. As a socially distanced outdoors rehearsal will be taking place. We'll have limited performance opportunities this fall. Jason Weiss, our director of bands, has come up with a wonderful plan of preserving the heart of the band experience despite the challenges of being able to have not all of the opportunities that we would ordinarily have. And so Dr. Weiss, Professor Weiss, is doing a great job in thinking through what band looks like and all the special challenges that come with that. We will be doing more taping and virtual performances than we would ordinarily do over the course of the fall semester.
Co-curriculars, similar, I would say. Right now, Celebration is one of our largest student-led worship events that happens on a regular basis that a lot of students like to attend. Right now, we have plans to host it outside. And then once weather won't permit us to host it outside, we will be in a room with size limits and socially distanced in an appropriate way. So similar.
So Mel, I can't help but ask though, because I've talked to some graduates of Malone, and they've asked me specifically about Davenport Derby, which, for those of you on this call who don't know, it's where we take themed groups. They make couches with wheels on them, or they put wheels on couches, and then they roll down hills. Is that off? Is that tradition going to take a hiatus, or are we still working towards that?
Right now, I'll be honest, we're working toward it. We think it's outside. We think we can do it in a COVID-friendly way, even if it means maybe putting people on a recliner and limiting how many people are pushing, and putting some wheels on a recliner instead of a couch. But we're planning on trying to give it a crack.
Wonderful, wonderful. And we have a few minutes left. If you're on this call and want to ask a question, shout out, or please put it in the chat bar. That would be wonderful. We'd be happy to ask it. Two pretty basic questions, though, and I'm going to call out two people I haven't talked to yet, and sorry about that. Adam, can I start with you? Do you mind? Can you talk about technology and the entrance that students make to our campus, and maybe about technology and how that has had to be adapted in this new context of COVID?
Sure. So I could talk a little bit. Greg already alluded to some changes we're making in the classroom. So each classroom that has folks remotely connecting during class, or actually we have a small camera that's in the middle and has a 360-degree lens. So it's going to be able to see people in the room and be able to focus in on whomever is talking in the room. And we're going to try to recreate as if you were there sort of situation. And then folks that can't make it to class will have outside opportunities for them to take those courses as well. But as if technology hasn't already taken over or been such an integral part in all of our lives, we're trying to leverage what technology can give us to improve the way that folks are learning on campus. So common questions that I get from folks that are coming in the fall, newly minted college students, what computer should I get? It's pretty much anything you'd buy in the market right now is going to be good. I'll remind everyone, if you haven't heard it already, don't go and buy Microsoft Office. That's provided for free through Microsoft and our campus licensing for that. So make sure that you are not buying any extras whenever you go to buy the laptop and they want to upsell you on other things. Just say no. I'll figure out what I need. But if you've got questions about what technology you should bring with you, make sure that you give the Information Technologies Office a call, and we'll be glad to get those questions answered, any particular things. So,
thanks, Adam. That's so crucial for a successful student experience. Another thing that's crucial for a successful student experience is getting textbooks, right, Kathy? And I just thought, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, Kathy, but I'm just curious if you could talk about the textbook butler situation, and then we'll go back to a question about Microsoft Office that came in. Thanks, Kathy.
Sure. As of right now, we are planning still to do the textbook butler like we always do. All of our incoming freshmen and transfer students will be in the textbook butler program. We're planning to still work with our awesome RAs and RD staff to get all those delivered to dorm rooms before freshman orientation. And then if they're a commuter, they'll pick them up here in the campus store. So as of right now, everything is the same as in the past. So we're excited about that to service our students. Definitely, if anybody has any questions about the butler, please reach out to us. You know, we're more than happy to help you out. But yeah, we're good to go.
Hey, thanks very much, Kathy. So how does a student get Microsoft Office then, Adam? That's the oh, you got it, Adam. Great. See, this is the part of the genius of Adam Clement right here. And so if you have a further question, just keep them coming in that chat. I do want to. Is Anna on this call? Anna Meadows. May I ask you a question too? I apologize. We just got, as an institution, and I might have the exact number wrong, a $1-point-something million donation for an upgrade to the space that houses our Center for Student Success. And if you're not familiar with Center for Student Success, that's basically like your academic support system for students across campus. It's another integral part of the student experience at Malone. And their space is beautiful. I've only seen it in pictures, though. I'm a little jealous. I haven't seen it in person, and I'm going to come over there with a mask sometime soon. So I just want to say thank you to all of you who are listening to this. And I am so pleased that I will get to meet you in person here in the fall. Greg, Mel, do you have any final comments that you'd like to make before we wrap up our conversations?
I think one additional thing I would say is you'll continue to receive communications from us. Obviously, as we alluded to, the situation continues to be ever evolving and fluid, but some of these standards that we shared today may be revised or updated accordingly to what we hear from our state officials. So please continue keeping in touch with us. If you've got questions or concerns, you can email us, you can call me. That is no problem at all. We want you to know that your student safety or your safety is our top priority.
So Jason, I'll just add, by the way, Angie Payer added a question about books in the bookstore, Kathy, and I don't know if you had an opportunity to see that, but if you could respond to Angie's question. It says, does the student have to order the books, or do you look at the schedule and get the books for the student? So you might want to provide an answer for that.
Yeah, I did respond to her. Basically with that, we get a pick list for all the students that are in our textbook butler program that actually has a list of all the books that they need and actually what shelf they're on here in the campus store. So, you know, we have tons of books already in the store, so they don't need to worry about, you know, any of their textbooks. We're getting them all taken care of. We just go and pull those books right off the shelf and put them right in the box for them. So good question. Thanks for asking. But yeah, we're getting set with a lot of shipments of books coming in, so we should be all set for fall.
And thank you, Angie. These are great questions. And I'll turn it back to you, Greg.
I'll just echo what Mel Scott said, and that is for all of you who are joining our community, one thing that students talk about consistently about Malone is that it's accessible. You're not facing a huge bureaucracy. You're joining a living community that's welcoming to all students. And so no matter who you are or where you are, as we say on your faith journey, you're welcome here. And you will find us to be, all of us to be just very personable in terms of interaction, communication. So please, if you have any questions or any concerns, I'll echo what Mel said. More than happy to answer those and get back to you just as quick as we can.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you, Mel, and thank you all for joining us. It is a pleasure to have you with us today, and I want to end by echoing what Greg started saying at the beginning, which is we're called to love our students. And we show that in our actions, and we also show that in our prayer. And we will pray for all of you, for your safety and your family's safety, for your safety as you travel to and from our campus in the fall. And we would appreciate you keeping us in your prayers as well. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.